think let's crack things off with a combined 11. We saw how fireworks flew last time that we did this beginning of the season. We'll go 4-3-3 formation and just anyone involved basically.
No more three at the back.
Conte's gone. Nuno's gone. It's 4-3-3. Ange against Arteta. We'll start off with the goalkeepers. Obviously, we're putting forward Vicario.
Earlier in the season, maybe, but not anymore. Let's be honest. We've seen Vicario be a little bit susceptible to those corners, not being able to come claim the crosses as well. And we know Raya, that's one of his strong suits. Raya also, he pretty much has the golden glove wrapped up at this point. He just needs Pickford to have one more game where he doesn't get a clean sheet and it's done. So from my perspective, I think Vicario having a little bit of a dip and Raya being so consistent, I would say Raya is having a better season. And I would put him there.
Has Raya actually been tested though? It's mainly your defense that is due to this Golden Glove.
No, but this is what people forget. It's not just the fact that the back four is doing their job. Raya is also making sure he's making crucial saves. For example, the Wolves game, he made a crucial save just yesterday versus Chelsea. It hits off the post, but luckily he's there to make sure it does that. And these kind of situations, just minimal things like coming and claiming crosses, relieving the pressure off your defense is such a crucial thing that people underestimate. So I think Raya doesn't get spoken about because our defense is so good, but he's a key reason and why one of our defense has been as good as it has been.
I feel like Raya is better at coming for crosses, and I think he's got better command of his area. I think that's true, and I also think he's better with his feet. I think he's better with the ball, playing those long passes. I think he's got better technique on his passes. I do think Vicario is better in two aspects. I think he's better with his shot stopping. I think he's got better reach. I think Raya from outside the box has been quite susceptible, I've seen. And I think sweeping as well. I think Vicario has better timing with his sweeping, I feel. And he's much better coming off his line at doing that. So I think there's give and take with both. I think definitely in 2024, Ray has been better. I agree. I think the first half of the season, I think Vicario is better. Obviously, I'm going to back my guy, but I have been impressed with Ray because he did have a tough start and he kind of turned it around. So I've got to give him credit for that.
It depends on what you want. As you're right. If you want a goalkeeper that's going to save you shots and you save you goals, I think Vicario is a guy for that. But I wouldn't swap him for Raya because he suits what we need in terms of that composure and that calming presence. And, Vicario's got a lot of fundamentals, but Raya's a bit more suited to what Arteta wants in terms of playing out the back and the long passing as well. It's very consistent and he can find Havertz very well. And for the fact that he's very good at claiming crosses despite being, 5'11", which is pretty short for a goalkeeper, it's very impressive. And let's not forget, he missed the first 4 games of the season, didn't play for Arsenal. And he's already almost secured the Golden Glove. Or he's won
in 28 games.
In 28 games. Now, of course, the defence plays a massive part, but you can't underestimate how important our goalkeeper is. Because we've seen Ramsdale come in. We've seen him come in and have a few games and a few mistakes. So,
against Brentford.
So you can't take that for granted. And that's why also, even in the Champions League, he saved a few penalties. So he's had a few good moments. And second half of the season, he's grown more and more. No Arsenal fans questioning anymore. Maybe if this was done in September or November, you go, Raya maybe, or Ramsdale. But now it's not even a question. And I think because he might win the Golden Glove, it will win the Golden Glove. And the consistency, I go for Raya.
Yeah.
I do think when you take the whole course of the season, out and out goalkeeping, what you want your goalkeeper for, particularly us anyway, when we come under fire with so many shots, I do think Vicario has been better from an out and out goalkeeping perspective throughout the whole season. So I think it has to be Vicario. I really do. I think that he's been just tested so much more than Raya this season as well.
Yeah,
so then would you say Onana's a better keeper than Vicario because he's been tested more?
I think Onana's a good keeper. I think he's a very good keeper.
My point is just because you utilize more in stopping shots doesn't mean you're the better keeper.
Yeah, but he's made a lot more mistakes. The thing is, Vicario's been tested so much. How many mistakes has he made?
Yeah, no.
Maybe one against Everton.
Making saves is important, but if you always look at the most saves in the league, it's always relegation teams. So it's not always
true.
It's not always the barometer to go off. And also, I would argue sometimes it's harder to just stay concentrated.
I'm not talking about the volume of saves.
No, of course
I'm talking about the quality of the saves as well.
Raya's made some important saves. And look, we used to see it year in year with David De Gea. When he used to play for a United team that conceded so many shots, he was the best in the world. Oh my God, he makes so many saves. The moment he only has to make 1 save a game or 2 saves a game, he can't do it. The best example is Edison and Alisson, right? And Raya's trying to be like that. And I think it depends on how you want to play. I wouldn't mind going to either goalkeeper. Obviously, I'm going to favour the Arsenal one. But it's not really a deficit either way.
It's interesting because in the summer, Spurs were obviously linked with Raya and linked with Vicario, right? And I was up in arms when Spurs signed Vicario. I was like, why are you going for this unknown keeper? But as the season's progressed and I've seen what Vicario is all about, I'm so happy with Vicario and I don't think I would swap.
Yeah, well, we're going to have to decide. Who's in goal? Shock to Arsenal fans go for the Arsenal and Spurs go for the Spurs.
It's got to be Vicario. Come on.
I think. Let's look at the clean sheets then. To break the tie.
You can't look at the clean sheets.
We are judging defenders, right?
Don't worry, defenders will come in a bit.
if you're gonna get Vicario in goal, there will be a massacre in defence. Then I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Look, we're going Vicario in goal. I think that's
Alright.
what it's going to come down to. Right back,
Vicario.
Pedro Porro against Ben White.
Okay, I'm just going to start off say Ben White has been the best right back this season in the Premier League based on form for the entire season. We've seen Trent get injured at times this season, but Ben White has been consistent. Since the turn of the year, I think he's been one of the best right backs in the Premier League, no debate. And I have him personally in my team of the season. So no surprise, I'm going to be putting him forward as a candidate for this combined 11.
Turn of the year is the key thing there, because since the turn of the year he has been brilliant, but I think before the turn of the year Pedro Porro was playing at a higher standard than Ben White. I think since the turn of the year Ben White has eclipsed him.
I think more than that, I think in the first half of the season White was poor. He was getting caught. I remember a lot of Arsenal fans were calling him out for him getting exposed. He was a weak link in that.
I don't think Ben White was poor. You got to look. We were actually trying to figure out what we were going to do with our tactics. We were messing around with the tactics slightly. So Ben White actually started as centre back in one of the first games, if I'm not mistaken. And we actually had we had Gabriel on the bench. And then once he went back into the right back position, we were still messing around with the midfield. Arteta was making slight tweaks, but once those tweaks were done and everything is all ready to go, you can see how good he is. But personally, for me, going forward and defensively, I think he's the best right back out of both teams. And when you speak about Pedro Porro, I just think he's susceptible to a defensive error here and there, where Ben White, you're not going to get those.
It's also tactically the way two teams are set up as well. The way Pedro Porro plays, sometimes he's like a number 10, at the other end of the pitch. I think it's just crazy the way, both teams are set up and the differences, and maybe, that's a cause for the argument. But I do think, if I'm going to be fair, I do think Ben White has been better over the course of the season.
Yeah, look, it's one of those where if he's better in the second half of the season, it's a good example of the player's testament and character, because that's the most pressurised moment. So as the season's gotten harder and harder, and other players have got more tired, he's found a second win. And we also forget in the first half of the season he was playing with an injury. We went away for 2-3 weeks and he recovered a bit more, and since then he's been better. And obviously he didn't go to international break either. I think Porro's been good. I don't think he's been bad. I don't think any Spurs player's been really bad. So they're all going to be close. But when you've got a team that's top of the table and he's got 4 goals and 4 assists as well, I think you have to go for Ben White.
I think Porro's got 7 assists and 1 goal. Like, he's very good at going forward. I actually think he's got better technique than Ben White. I think when you've got a player on the right-hand side with his crossing ability, his shooting ability, and I think his creative passing ability, I actually would prefer Porro. But I do agree, Ben White has definitely improved that element of his game. And then defensively, because he's a centre-back by trade, he's actually quite a good defender. And I think definitely in 2024, I'll concede he's been better than Porro. I definitely think Porro was ahead of him in 2023, but I'm willing to concede Porro. But I want to ask you about Ben White. What do you as an Arsenal fan, make of the whole England situation with Ben White?
There's something's happened behind the scenes. I don't want to.
Do you care? Do you even care?
Personally, I don't really care, because even if he was in the squad, he doesn't start. That's the reality. He doesn't start with Trent, because Southgate wouldn't trust him with Trent either, and he doesn't start as centre back either. So for me, it's like, why would I really care if he's sat on the bench for England, right? Does it really matter to me? And also, there's something clearly happened after the World Cup or during the World Cup. You don't leave the World Cup if something will happen. I think Southgate's it's a bit snaky to come out in the public and call him out like that, but it is his choice, But Arsenal fans don't really care.
Hey, it's England's loss is Arsenal's gain. That's all I gotta say.
You think he should be starting for England?
It's difficult because there's 4 great right backs for England that you can arguably say are ahead of him, with Trent, Kyle Walker, also Trippier, and who am I forgetting? Reece James maybe if he's fit, but that guy's never fit. So he's playing the best out of all of them. But hey, if they're all fit and firing, I don't expect him to start for England anyways.
On form, he gets in the squad and maybe the team. But Southgate doesn't go for form, he goes for experience. And he's not going to pick Ben White.
And Harry Maguire still playing every game for England.
So what I would say is about if Porro's in a more settled defence, I actually think he's the better player. But I think Ben White's playing better.
No, but do you think Porro is good both ways?
Yeah. I think he's really improved defensively this season. Recently, I'll concede against Newcastle, Fulham. He was definitely caught out a few times. It's definitely the Newcastle game he struggled, but he's actually really improved defensively this season. And I think there's very few players in the league with his technical ability and passing ability. And when he's on his game, he's up there with the best in the league.
I also feel fullbacks need to be very consistent. And White's definitely more consistent.
That's probably true.
Even when we're having poor games, he's one of the main men defensively who's holding it down for us.
I would say
Porro's recent form has just been insane, though. That's what it is. Like 2 goals last night.
Bias.
No,
Yeah, I mean,
you
if
can't.
only he
You
scored
can't
2
call.
goals.
You can't call 5 months recency bias though.
If we did this combined 11 in December,
We're not.
at the end. I know that, but if we were doing this combined
Yeah.
11 at the end of December, Porro would be getting in.
Yeah, probably.
If we were doing
We're
this combined
I know,
11
I
in
get that.
December,
Get to the team.
you guys
That's
were.
why I said white.
If we were doing this combined 11 in December, you guys would probably be like maybe like 4 or 5 points off us.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How
All
many is it
right,
now?
Ben White, right back,
Doesn't
right
matter.
centre back, Romero, Saliba.
Romero or Saliba?
Romero or Saliba, yeah.
How has Romero been this season? Because I've not heard his name being spouted.
He's
as
been
much.
great. He's been great. But obviously, we play a very open style of play, and that leads to sometimes him getting caught. I do think, obviously, since everyone remembers that Chelsea game where he got sent off and all that kind of stuff, I do think in general he's been very, very good, especially since the turn of the year. He's been really consistent. I think he's been fantastic, and I do think he's built a really good partnership with Van de Ven. I don't think he's got booked this year. Like he's really.
He got a
out of
red
his
card.
game. No, this 2024. I'm talking about this
Oh,
year.
okay.
So he's really starting to be a bit more controlled, I think, and he's starting to develop that side of his game. So I think he's been great. Obviously, Saliba's been amazing, but yeah, I think not take away from Romero. I think he's been great.
I think Romero has improved massively this season with his temperament and the fact that he hasn't been sent off or been given that many yellow cards. But one thing I'm gonna say is Romero, as good as he is, William Saliba, he's in a different bracket. No disrespect to Christian Romero. William Saliba, his composure, the ability that he has on the ball, the defensive awareness that he has, the way that he just calms everyone's presence, everything is cool, calm, collective. And when the defender comes near him, it almost seems like football slows down and he just does the most easiest thing. He makes football look easy. William Saliba, at the age that he's at, he looks like he's been playing for 20 years. So I'm just gonna be putting William Saliba in there, and also I think he's been outstanding for us this season, and he's not even been our best centre back in my opinion.
It's a bit of an unfair comparison because I think Romero and Saliba are different players. You, as in, you always have an aggressor and the one that sits
You
back.
probably want to judge
yours
like
is-
Gabriel and Romero and Saliba and Van de Ven,
around,
don't
but
you?
no, that's how football is, isn't it? I think Saliba is the player you prefer. If they were both available tomorrow and Real Madrid could sign one, I'd think they go for Saliba because he's a bit.
I think
higher
Spurs were
caliber
interested
player.
in Saliba when.
Yeah, you actually were.
We actually were about to sign him, but we didn't want to loan him back. That's what the situation
we can
was.
tell why. He's a very good player. Very good player. So look, I've not watched Romero play as much. I'm not going to say he's been poor or good, anything like that. But I think when Saliba's available, I'm always going to go for Saliba.
I think Romero's been very underrated this season for Spurs. I know Spurs have leaked a lot of goals this season, but I don't think that's down to because Romero's been poor or whatever. I think he's been unbelievable this season. But look, I got to concede Saliba is probably. I think he's probably been one of the best defenders in the Premier League, up there with Virgil van Dijk. So at his age, it's actually scary how good he can be, and that's coming from a Tottenham fan.
Hey, team of the season player right there again.
Yeah, listen, that's intriguing, but I'm more intrigued by the left side now because
Van de Ven.
Yeah, he's been very good. He's been very good, and I was actually been quite impressed by him. How much he signed him for? 30 million pounds?
40 million.
Yeah,
40 million.
It's been a pretty good deal for him.
Scouts are doing their
And
job.
obviously, people will look at recent moments and go, "Oh, yeah, that moment against Isak and dropped," but that can happen.
That was funny though.
But I think that was mainly down to other players not doing their job around him.
Yeah, it happened. That's football, innit? But I think with Gabriel, now, if you talk about the best centre back of the season, if you ask most Arsenal fans, they wouldn't say Saliba. They would say it's Gabriel.
Facts.
So if we put Saliba in the team, Arsenal fans are going to say Gabriel has to get the team as well because they're a partnership as well. And if you compare partnership to partnership, Romero and Van de Ven are up and coming, and Saliba and Gabriel have had a year more experience. But it's a hard one because I think Van de Ven and Saliba could work very well because I think anyone you put next to Saliba will look very good. But in terms of being that aggressor, which is probably more suited to Romero, I don't know if it'd work.
It's not a coincidence. Once again, we go back to earlier in the season, your defense was looking good, your team was looking really good, and then that injury happened, that Chelsea game where everything went wrong for you guys. And it's like Van de Ven getting injured, culminating to your defense being poor and him missing some games, almost takes him out of contention for this for me. And when it comes to Gabriel Magalhaes, let's be honest, a lot of people were making fun of him, thinking he was a bozo, making it seem like he was the weak link in our back line over the last couple of years, or not giving him as much credit. Now people are finally noticing how good he actually is, and that he's one of the mature spirits in the team. He's one of the main men, and also set piece threat. He's one of the most deadly set piece threats in the league. After Antonio Rudiger left, no one scored more goals than him.
Romero has 4, I believe.
Romero and Gabriel have the same amount of goals this season.
No, I'm talking about since the Premier League, since he's been in the Premier League.
Yeah, since he's joined the Premier League, he's definitely been up there. And look, we talked about the clean sheets, and we know that's not just the goalkeeper, right? The main reason why is our defenders. and we've conceded 4 goals in 2024. Only 4 goals.
You know what with Gabriel?
I think it's 6.
Is it 6 now?
Yeah.
You know what with
Aston
Gabriel
Villa.
though? With Gabriel, right? I think like, I've been a heavy critic of Gabriel every single year, but I think this year he's been incredible. I'm not going to say he hasn't, but I do feel like when it comes to crunch time, when it comes to the games that really matters, the Bayern Munich game, the Villa game, these kind of games, I did feel like he was coming under a bit of pressure, and he showed some nervy moments in these games. So when it comes to crunch time, is he the actual guy you want?
Look, we're going to find out in the next few weeks. But he's had a few little moments in the last few weeks. I'm not going to deny that. But also, he's been very consistent for most of the season. So if he's got a 9 out of 10 centre back who's now gone to a 7 for a few games, I'm not going to go, wow, he's dropped off. But if he has a major error against Spurs this weekend, or United in the future, maybe you start asking the questions. But when you've got the 2 best centre backs in the league in terms of the record defensively and the clean sheets and everything, they've kept 16 in total. Raya's kept 14, but they've kept 16. You have to play him as a partnership, surely.
I don't think Van de Ven's, apart from maybe the Newcastle, he hasn't had a bad game. Literally every time he's played, he's been absolutely exceptional, and he has so much more to do as well than Like we obviously get fair play. Gabriel, Saliba done great, but obviously your defence as a unit is a lot more structured at the moment than our defence because we're still in that process. And Van de Ven has so much covering to do. Every time, how many goals he has stopped per game is incredible. The amount of work he has to do, the amount of time he has to cover in behind and stop players running through on goal. And he's got unbelievable pace. He is the fastest player in the Premier League. That is I think in history. So that's an unbelievable facet to have as a centre-back. And he's so big. He saw against... who did he score against? Forest. He's got a good left foot as well. He scored I think he's got 2 goals this season. So yeah, he scored a brilliant goal from outside the box. So I think Van de Ven, obviously he's in his first season. I mean, we might be talking about him as being a better player than Gabriel. I don't know whether I think Gabriel might have had a better season, but I think Van de Ven might be the better player.
Looking at comparison-wise, I think Van de Ven's had an 8 and Gabriel had a 9. So it's not like it's massively off, right? And that's fair enough because one player's had more experience and he's had a better team as well. But you can't go off the best defence in the league and not have the 2 centre-backs there.
I feel like if we have this conversation at the end of next season, when Spurs are
we will have this conversation.
We will. But when we do have that conversation at the end of next season and Spurs are a more settled side, second year under Ange, I do think we're getting Van de Ven in that back 4. But right now, it's hard to disagree with you.
It's gonna be really difficult to get Van de Ven in when you're talking about a potential league champions. You know what I mean?
League champions.
Yeah,
we're in April. You know that, guys. We're in April.
But you said next season, right? So we could potentially win the league this season, and those status of these players.
You could also potentially not win the league this season.
Yeah, of course we can't. But the reality is, I don't think Gabriel gets worse from this year. Like, he's still 26.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's like 35 and he's going to get worse next year. He's still 26. Saliba's still pretty young as well. The Arsenal defence could improve even more with a better player in front or someone like that.
But this is Van de Ven's first season in the Premier League.
I think if you're
what was Gabriel's first season?
No, but you didn't. But understand. You guys were not managing the Champions League. You weren't even managing Europe. You were just only playing in the league. Mm-hmm. So understand that it's a completely different thing when you guys are back in the Champions League next season or in Europe next season minimum, and you're going to have to play many more games.
I remember when you lot weren't in Europe, Gabriel was making mistake after mistake.
He was. If I could take one defender out of Spurs, it would be Van de Ven. But still, I'd not Gabriel for now.
No, for me, it would be someone else.
Who would it be?
The left back.
Look at this. Guna's fighting over Spurs players. Love it. But no, Gabriel gets in.
We don't mind taking Spurs defenders. We've got a nice history of those.
Yeah, so Campbell.
You leave that out of your mouth. Gabriel and Saliba at the back. Left back. Destiny Udogie against.
Is he injured?
He's injured, yeah.
He is injured.
So would he still qualify for the combined 11?
He's still qualifying.
He's our only left back we have in the squad.
Look, I can't really say that because we've had a lot of injuries at left back as well, so we can't say he qualifies and we don't qualify or whatever like that.
No, yeah.
We've not had a set left back. Now, look, if we had our actual left back that has been injured all season, it would have been a different conversation. But
who's your best left back?
You're in Timber. I think.
Yeah.
He's only played like one game for you.
Yeah, but you can tell when the quality.
He's just something else.
You can tell someone's quality.
You've played one game though.
Yeah, but before Doggy even came for you guys, you knew he was good. Yeah, we know how good Timber is. He played for Ajax last year, And he's played for.
Yeah, but also he literally. Now look at him.
No, but with Timber, it's a bit different because you can tell he's not as defensively lapsed, right?
Yeah.
And Zinchenko last year was definitely in this conversation, but he's not started as many games this year, so we can't even say Zinchenko's name in this. The player that we would put forward is Kivior. Because he's the player who's played the most left back minutes.
He's a centre back, really.
Yeah, exactly. So is Tomiyasu as well. So that's how we play. Look, I don't think it's as much a conversation here.
Yeah, nobody at Arsenal has stamped their authority and taken that left back position yet since Timbers got injured and Zinchenko's been not having as good season as he had last season. I'm not going to put Tomiyasu forward because he's always injured. Kivior doesn't play as many games consecutively, and Zinchenko's been out. So
Maybe on his way out, Zinchenko, you reckon?
Yeah, I think so.
I think so too. Yeah.
I think so, and it's not because look we're ungrateful for the player. I think he's been very good for us. He took him from fifth to second. That's a massive leap.
Massive.
But as a team evolves, you evolve by certain players.
Facts.
And he helped us get to a stage, and now we're at a stage where we're trying to become a bit more secure. And there's a reason why when Kivy with us start, we don't concede as many goals. When he comes on the pitch, even as off the bench, sometimes he can be a bit lapsed. So yeah, I think this has to be a doggy.
Who's starting left back in the derby, do you reckon?
KVR.
You reckon Tomiyasu?
Tomiyasu?
Unless he's injured, Tomiyasu will start. Tomiyasu starts the big games, if he's fit.
There's always a like.
Tomiyasu started the last game.
I think he walked off into the last game. So
Yeah, he's always injured, that guy.
It depends who's gonna. It depends who we're gonna be going up against. I could see KVR also starting if Tomiyasu's not ready.
It does depend. But look, to be fair, last season Chenko's pretty good against Spurs. I'm pretty sure away from him, so he's fit and available. So I wouldn't be surprised for a bit of a shock.
We have three options. Yeah.
There's a few options there. But in terms of if for this combined 11, I'm going Destiny Doggy.
Yeah,
All
same.
Destiny Doggy.
That's actually a player that Spurs fans hyped up. And he's looked up to the hype. You do quite often with the players. He's not quite as good, but he's actually he's decent.
I honestly think he would be in my team of the year also for left
Really,
back.
team of the year, you reckon?
If he wasn't injured, he would definitely be in there for me.
All right.
I think he's in there.
High words for Destiny Doggy from the other side of North London. So Doggy gets in at left back. So the defence is Vicario, White, Saliba, Gabriel, and Doggy. In defensive midfield, who are we going for?
We're only going off the first 10 games of the season.
Only 10 games. So Basuma gets straight in.
No.
Basuma, better than Declan Rice. He's got the most stats in the league. And
The
he's got the
better
best-
dribbler than
best
Rodri.
dribbler, and he's this and that. And look at Declan Rice now.
Look, to be fair, Basuma has fallen off a cliff ever since those first 10 games. He got sent off again, and we just haven't seen the same Basuma since.
So maybe you overrated him.
Well,
Maybe.
maybe that happens. Look, we'll get into people overrating people
Exactly,
later
we'll
on,
get
so
into
don't
that
you
in a
worry,
bit.
Don't you worry. But yeah, look, unfortunately, as much as Basuma started on the season like a house on fire, and obviously following on from what he was doing at Brighton, which he was classed to Brighton as well, you thought, okay, now we're seeing the real Basuma. This is a guy we signed from Brighton, 30 million. He's a really good destroyer. He's really good dribbling ability, and from what he showed early on, we thought, oh wow, he's in for a major season. Unfortunately, he had got a red card and then it just completely fell off out of nowhere. He hasn't seemed to regain that confidence that he had. He hasn't got that consistency back. And it's a real shame because there's a real good player in there. But unfortunately, I don't know what's happened to him, but he hasn't hit those heights he did earlier in the season.
I think
and we've just been waiting for
Just
it.
end this debate. Rice gets in there, like, hands down.
Yeah.
He's had some very nice moments this season.
So you guys can admit now, Declan Rice is much
Declan
better
Rice
than
is
you
better than
thought.
Basuma.
Yeah, but look, it's not a shock.
No, it's not
when a player
even-
costs 100 million pounds,
Exactly.
he should be better. That's the fact.
Yeah, talk to Chelsea about Enzo, Mudryk, and all these lot.
No, exactly. So Chelsea is Chelsea.
Hey,
They
that's
spend money
scouting.
how they spend money. But with Basuma, I think there's a reason why when he was available for 30 million pounds, and every fan was like, "Sign this guy, he's amazing." Some clubs were like, "I'm not quite sure," And there's a reason why. If he's available for 30 million pounds and he's as good as you guys believe him to be at the start of the season, the reality is he's not as consistent. And your number 6 needs to be very consistent. The best example is Rodri.
Yeah,
right?
there's-
So, yeah, I think Rice is the easy answer. I don't think Basuma is a bad player. I actually like to see him play slightly further forwards. I
In
think
the
he's
eight.
got a bit more capacity there. But as a 6.
And Rice this season, the ability to play the 8, the 6, and do everything that he's done for us this season. Late winners, get involved in the attack also. I think he has 10 goal contributions as a DM for us in the Premier League. He's been
And I'm sure
outstanding.
you guys don't like West Ham like we do, and that goal against them was pretty nice.
I wasn't celebrating it, don't you?
You know.
All right, Rice in the 6. 2 other midfielders we got to put in there. So
I think that one guarantee here
is Odegaard.
is
Odegaard.
Odegaard, because he's in a PFA team of the year conversation or player of the year conversation.
Well, you see, I think he is now, but again, another player before the turn of the year.
Yeah,
people
yeah.
were saying he was having a poor season again.
He wasn't.
He went through like a 10-game period where he didn't get any assists or any
I never
goals.
blamed him because, as you guys seen, even in the Chelsea game that happened last night, he's so majestic. He creates all these chances. He created 8 chances last night. 8 chances created by one
Did you see that
player.
pass to Havertz?
And the amount of times that he puts the ball on the plate, and you have Eddie Nketiah missing, you have Martinelli missing, you have Trossard missing. He's also doing these things. It's just the players are not finishing their dinner. So I don't necessarily blame Odegaard. I think Odegaard, even when people were saying he was having a poor season, he was doing his job. It's just the attackers were letting him down.
Not even that. I think the context behind it is in the first half of the season, the reason why he looked poor is because his role was different. He's played more as an actual number 10, playing higher up the pitch, and he can play as a 10, but he's not as natural as maybe a Maddison was, for example. He's more of a number 8. when he's allowed to drop deeper, dictate play and get himself on the ball. And so when you see a player play this more natural role, there's no surprise that he thrives a lot more. So, yeah, I think the way he plays right now, I think if there's one player that I see rival fans hype up the most about Arsenal, it's Martin Odegaard.
Yeah.
And there's a reason behind that. He's a very majestic player to watch. So special as well. And the fact that we got him for £30 million.
Thank you, Real Madrid.
Yeah, and there's no buyback clause in that, thankfully. So it's very nice.
Who's the other midfielder we're going to get in there? Because Odegaard, for sure, I agree, 100% gets in there. He's your captain. The way he plays, leads the press. The way he is on the ball, he's just an unbelievable player. I've got next to him though, it's got to be James Maddison, I guess.
I was going to say Havertz.
I'll ask about Maddison. I mean, not really Havertz. I think Havertz is better going forward as a striker. But in terms of left number 8 and Maddison, I think it looks like an obvious answer. But how has he been since returning? Because
I don't think he's been as good as he was before the injury.
He was very good.
Facts. Before the injury, I think in the first 10 games, he was probably one of the best players in the Premier League on current form. He hasn't hit those heights since he has been back from injury, but I think when you're looking at Maddison and when you're looking at anyone else Arsenal can put in there, I do think the quality difference is clear. Let's say a Maddison against a Kai Havertz. I don't think Kai Havertz is anywhere near as strong as Maddison in the central midfield.
Yeah,
he's not a midfielder.
Yeah, Havertz is. I think you've had a bit of a drop off when you put Havertz in midfield. I think you look your best when he's up front. So
yeah.
You have Jorginho. I don't think he's a number 8. He plays in the 6 usually when he plays. So I think Maddison has to be in there, and he still has a baseline performance which is still pretty good.
Yeah, he's a very good player. I think it's a weird one because if we had Thomas Partey fit for most of the season, I think he would have had more of a comfort for number 6 and Rice playing more as an 8, which he played against Chelsea. So, but Maddison's a player that when you look at him play, and I'm like, when he's in full form, like I would want him at Arsenal. So I'm not going to sit there and get him out of the team. And we don't really have a set number 8 anyways. Vieira, Smith Rowe on the bench, and Havertz is not a number 8. So I'm okay with Maddison.
I'm okay with Maddison, but I just want to say I'm starting to see a little bit of Bruno Fernandes and James Maddison.
What do you mean by that?
Basically, when he can get you a goal, he can get you assists, he can contribute in that way. But outside of that, during the 90 minutes, sometimes he doesn't contribute defensively as much. He doesn't do all the hard work throughout the 90 minutes. That's from my perspective.
Some of his actually best attributes is actually his off the ball work. Really is some of his best attributes.
I was thinking about more midfielders that maybe I look at Spurs actually suited the midfield better because you've got 2 number 10s and it doesn't always work. What about Son? How good is he?
Sarr.
I think Sarr has been good, yeah.
He's a brilliant player.
I think he might be more suited to playing in this field.
He's got so much energy, never stops running, covers so much ground. He can even contribute to assists here and there as well. Defensively, I think he did so much great work backing up Pedro Porro on the right-hand side when Pedro Porro's caught upfield. I think he's so young. He's got so much room for improvement as well. I think the ceiling is so high with Sarr.
Why don't you put Sarr in this instead of Maddison? It brings more balance.
I don't think it does because he plays more on the right, right?
Maddison's on the left.
It brings more balance though to the midfield.
I think
I just think Maddison is that much ahead of Sarr right now.
Yeah, I think it's still a very good trio, and when you got the guy at the base who's very good defensively,
Declan Rice,
he can bang it from range. I think, and those 2 centre backs looking nice, and the right back's was alright as well. So
right wing,
keeper's looking alright.
Right wing, who are we going? Dejan Kulusevski 100% gets into this one.
Brennan Johnson.
I heard your fans want to get rid of him. They're like, Kulusevski's falling off a cliff.
Now you know what, Brennan Johnson though. I was heavily critical of Brennan Johnson quite a few months ago, but I think he's really starting to get to grips with his life at Spurs. He's getting consistent goals, consistent assists, and I think he's been brilliant for us.
I think this is the only guy. Bukayo Saka. It has to be Bukayo
Isn't he just stat padding against like the poorer teams?
No, Bukayo.
Listen, I think he scored against. Did he score against you guys, or was it?
He did score a penalty.
He scored a penalty. So he did score against you.
Lucky penalty.
A lucky penalty. Harry Kane scored quite a few lucky penalties as well.
Donkey locked Saka down.
By that terms, look. Has he been electrifying? No, he's not been. If we're going to talk player of the season, it'll be Odegaard over Saka. However, if him still scoring 14 goals, getting 8-9 assists is stat padding, and it's not really classified as one of the best right wingers in the league, then something wrong. I do think though that in terms of how he's judged and how rival fans see him now with the whole limping memes and stuff like that, it happens. If you're going to enter conversations of being a world-class player, you're going to get this level of treatment. So I'm not sitting here going, wow, Saka's treated unfairly. I'm going, look, when you're going to be a top player, you have to get used to this sort of treatment. Talk
to me about Saka. How good of a season has he actually had this season compared to last season? Because I'm looking at Bukayo Saka and I'm looking at his February where he scored crazy amount of goals. He got quite a few assists as well. But outside of February, I don't think he's actually had a top season this year.
I think we have to remember that this statistically has been his best season. On top of that, we're in the Champions League, and he's smashing also in the Champions League. One of the top goals and assist getters over there in the Champions League also.
Yeah, when it came to Porto and Bayern, what happened?
He stepped up against Bayern. He scored the goal.
Yeah, but what?
He got taken out wrongfully at the end of the game. He could have won the game. But personally, for me, the thing that people don't see about Saka is this season he's constantly just doing his job to a T, and he's getting double teamed, triple teamed consecutively all the time. You see two fullbacks. Sometimes even people are playing two left backs to try to stop him, like Thomas Tuchel did at the Allianz Arena. So with more emphasis on Bukayo Saka, there's going to be people are going to say, oh, he's more quiet. But really and truly, he's doing the same damage. It's just he's doing it more efficiently. He's getting the same level of assist goals, and it's not all flashy like he used to be back in the day.
I don't think it's about that. I think it's fatigue. People are used to seeing Saka good. So if he's not very, very good, people go, oh, he's awful.
Yeah,
don't go, he's a 7 out of 10 today. Go, he's a 3-4 out of 10. He'll still score a goal maybe. Still impact the game. He'll probably win the game maybe on Sunday for us, right? And they go, no, he didn't have 25 dribbles in this game, and he wasn't like Doku's little flicks and tricks. And I think a lot of people fall for aesthetics, and that's amazing if that's the type of player. And Odegaard's the type of player for that as well. But in terms of what you want from your forwards, it's efficiency in goals, and Saka provides that at the highest level.
And creativity. He's amazing. I was
going to say, how good was Saka at Brennan's age? I think Saka's probably younger than him.
How old is Brendan? Is he like 23?
22.
Yeah, Saka's he's younger. So
Saka's younger, no?
Yeah, 50 million pounds down drain.
That's good.
All I have to say is when it comes to Bukayo Saka, he was getting 12 assists for us his first season when he was 19 years old playing left back.
Does Saka get him playing in Team of the Season this year in the Premier League?
It's between him and Salah.
Palmer.
Palmer I think gets over him. So it's one of those where Salah's not been amazing, neither is Saka. To their normal standards, by the way, they've been very good. But Palmer's come onto the scene, scored 20 goals.
What about Salah also?
Yeah, you can't discount that. But Salah's had a lot of injuries, unfortunately.
Yeah.
When a player scores 20 league goals in his first year, you got to go.
But Salah's had a lot of injuries, but I think they've had a similar amount of goal contribution.
Yeah, Salah's
I think that position is still not decided. There's 3 guys fighting it out for it.
Yeah, but would I start Palmer over Saka for England? No.
Never.
Because he's not a right winger. He plays for Chelsea as a right winger, but he drifts more centrally. As an actual right winger, Saka's a better player.
And I think something that people don't underestimate about Bukayo Saka is he impacts the game in many different ways. Creativity-wise, scoring goals, and also just the pressure that he puts on the opponents. He basically shifts the whole defense the moment he has the ball. And he creates so much mismatches for your team, especially when you have a runner like Kai Havertz running from midfield. You see Odegaard get a lot of cutbacks. It's because there's so much emphasis on our great wingers that teams don't want to get embarrassed from Bukayo Saka. It's almost like what Chelsea used to have when people focus so much on Eden Hazard.
I think it's safe to say Saka gets in at right wing. Just about. He just sneaks in there.
It's the easiest we ever got him in, you know. Kulusevski's definitely better.
Left wing.
Like this.
This is an interesting one, left wing. Who are you going to... what's happened to Martinelli this season?
It's a mixture. First, he has to take responsibility. He's not been as good. We saw yesterday missing.
I don't think he's been anywhere near the levels.
Yeah. But also, I think you have to look at the way he's been playing. Who's playing next to. Last year, he had a consistent partner. Saka and Martinelli in the combination. And it's very important to have that. You go on the right with Saka and Odegaard and you can build chemistry and stuff. This year, it's been Havertz, maybe Rice, maybe someone else there. And he's been taken out of the team more often. So I think with the lack of consistency on the left-hand side and the left-back not being fit as well, Zinchenko most of the time, I think he struggled. He's not had the same service. And also last year, people forget, when you had Jesus playing, he would drift to the left-hand side, he combined with him. When you take all of that away, he's not as good as Saka to make something out of nothing. So I think Martinelli's a player where I expect next year to go up again, when we get him a more comfortable player to play on that side that he can partner with, if he's Rice, someone like that, and a left-back as well, like Timber's fully fit. But I think without that, he's not a one-man team, like maybe Saka can be at times, and he's definitely had a bit of a mid-season.
I think he was much suited to how you were playing last season, where you were much more full throttle, faster paced, and then he was getting in behind a lot quicker when you were sometimes hitting teams on very quick transitions. Now, when you're facing against low blocks and the space is clogged up, and he has to be a bit more
technical.
Yeah, a bit more nimble is the word I was looking for. A bit more nimble. Trossard's a lot more used to that than someone like Martinelli. So I think Martinelli's been struggling with that this season.
And I'm looking at that Bayern game. If I was an Arsenal fan, I'd be fuming with him from that game. You know, defensively, like he should have done a lot better.
Yeah.
And also the chances that he missed in the first half as well.
Yeah, look, you can say get better, but I don't think there's two wingers that track back as much as Saka and Martinelli. So they do it most of the time. If a player switches off for a second, then it's
the big moments, isn't it?
It's a forward. Yeah, it's annoying. It is annoying. I also feel like because of how good Saka is at his age, and they're both the same age, people go, oh, he has to be the same. It's not. Saka's a bit of an abnormal player. right? And if Martinelli's going for the normal thing of a 22 goal scorer, he's a bit inconsistent at times.
I mean,
No,
the only player we can put forward for left wing is Timo Werner.
Well, if we're talking about goal contributions per 90, I think.
I mean, if we're going per 90, there's another player I'm going to put forward.
Trossard.
Who's got 10 league goals this year, non-penalty. Yeah, not a single penalty. I think he scored 10 league goals in 14 starts.
Leandro Trossard.
Yeah, I mean,
Is that it? 10 and 14 starts?
not all 10 and 14, but he's only had 14 starts.
A lot of them come from the bench,
yeah,
though,
a
no?
few from the bench as well.
The
The
thing
thing
of-
very good goals, important goals as well. Even the Champions League
He scored a winner. He scored a winner against recently. He scored the opening goal versus Wolves. He scored the winner versus Everton. The only goal.
against Liverpool as well.
Yeah.
The equaliser against Chelsea. The goal against Bayern. He scored so many.
And the thing about him is he's basically like one of the more older attackers that we have in close to his prime. He's one of the main guys there, and you can tell because he's so clinical with his finishing. He can use either foot. The way that he can play, technically he's gifted, and the guy he's not scared of any challenge. Every game when we need him to step up, he's one of the guys who's not scared of the challenge and he's willing to step up and ready to go. So to me, I love Martinelli, but this season Trossard's been slightly better.
yeah.
I'd agree. I think Trossard does get in there because I don't think we've got a left winger that can even get in
there's a
there at
player
all.
If Richarlison was fit, would you guys have argued for him?
No, left wing.
No, I mean Son.
If Richarlison was fit, maybe. Well, we put Destiny Udogie there, but if Richarlison was fit, I might have argued for Richarlison in the 9 and then Son out left. I would have pushed Son out left potentially,
Yeah,
which
but
we
he's
still
not-
could.
I don't think Son's as natural a wide forward as Trossard or Martinelli. He's definitely better down the middle. So it depends. Maybe a younger Son, when he was a few years younger, he's a bit more pace than him, potentially. But I think as a front three there, if you put someone down the middle, it could be nice. And I'm looking for more of a target man, personally. I want a bit more of a 6'4" frame who scores some important goals. Loves to score against Chelsea and does some
All right,
nice
look.
celebrations.
You got Trossard in there at left wing.
Okay.
When we last did this debate, you lot were telling us that Gabriel Jesus is a better number 9 than Heung-min Son. What are you lot saying now?
I still think he's a better 9 in terms of what you want from a 9, right? But in
Goals.
terms of goals is one thing. Goals is one thing, but sometimes it's not always about that. Liverpool had Firmino as their 9, right? And he still worked out as one of the all-time greats for them, right? It depends on what you want. And so I think Jesus is a mix of Firmino and a bit of a more of a goal scorer at times, but he's been injured, so he can't match Son's level of consistency.
But he's always injured.
He is injured, and that's
But when he's played, how good has he been
yeah,
this
but I
season?
think he's a player who's very confidence reliant. So if he is injured for a while and he comes back, he can't go straight back into it. Son's a bit more of a lethal finisher. So if you want your goals, you go for Heung-min Son for sure. I think if any player, Arsenal fans are going to put forwards now, and it's difficult because they're going to go shameless. How can you put him forwards because you don't rate him? It's going to be Kai Havertz. And to be quite honest, if you watch his performances as a striker alone in the second half of the season, they've been very consistent.
Amazing,
I think
yeah.
he's got something like 11 goal contributions in 2024.
He has 10 goal contributions in our last
Yeah.
10 games. or
Yeah, something like that. So he's been very consistent as a striker, and it depends because Son's definitely the better goal scorer. He's definitely a better finisher as well.
He's a better player.
But no, yeah, of course he is. He's got more experience, and you could put him in a category of world class. But as a striker, you want someone to link up play better as well. And I think Havertz is actually better than Son in terms of linking up play.
Okay, you can. Maybe he's obviously a bit stronger. He's better with his back to goal than Son. I can concede that, but the levels that Son is better at the other facets is just astronomical. Like Son, left foot, right foot as well.
Yeah.
Havertz is
I think
very
we
left-footed.
can't- I don't think there's a
Like,
debate for Havertz
Son-
over Son. Like,
No,
come
I
on.
don't want to debate him. I want to put him forwards. I want to put forwards because I feel like if he had an entire season there and his numbers are a bit higher, because just don't forget he's now got 12 goals this season, and he didn't play as a striker most of it. I don't know how many goals.
Let me
Son
ask you
has,
guys
but he's
this.
not probably
Son,
far off.
well, you talking about all competitions, I assume.
In the league.
He has 12 league
I think
goals.
he's 11 in the league now. Actually, yeah, 11.
Kai Havertz has 11 league
Yeah,
goals.
he has
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
He
But
scored
Son
2
has-
last
few
night.
assists as well.
Son has 15 goals
4,
and
yeah.
9 assists.
Yeah, no, so Son's numbers will be very good, right? And he's your
24 goal
Captain.
contributions.
He's your
well.
talisman.
I think with Son's numbers, they're always going to be good for Spurs because he's your main outlet. So you're going to find him the most.
Yeah.
With Arsenal, because you've got Saka with goals and assists, and Odegaard gets goals and assists as well, and Trossard gets them as well, it's a bit more shared out. But seeing the way Havertz has elevated our attackers and how they perform better with him up front and taking Jesus' place, the fact that we're going to Spurs this Sunday and no one's going to start Jesus. it tells
But the
you how
narrative
it's
around the Arsenal fan base is that we need a number 9, a top number 9
Actually,
this
I
summer.
think it's
But you
changing.
want to know something? If you guys had Jesus at your club, Son would play left and Jesus would start up
And it
top.
would be a pretty good front three, I think.
It
I
would-
think that would have worked. But,
yeah.
it depends. But actually,
I don't think so. I
You
think Son
guys-
is so much better at number 9 now.
No. But what you got to realize is, with I'm not making fun of Son right now. I'm just simply saying his skill set he could do out wide. He doesn't necessarily need to occupy that middle
He's
area.
changed as he's getting.
I don't-
older.
I disagree. I think he's better down the middle now.
He is
I think-
better
I
down
think
the
he's
middle
more-
now.
He's a player that I'd love to have in the Champions League.
No, but I'm just simply saying I don't view him as somebody who can hold up the ball, somebody who actually links up the player as much.
He's getting better.
And that's why.
He's not a profile of 9 I would target.
Yeah.
But if I want goals, I'm going for Heung-min Son, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not going to take him out of the team for that. But
he's got elite facets, right, Heung-min Son, and I don't think
he's got a superpower, and it's just finishing.
I think
his finishing is best of the world.
He's an elite player.
Levels, the rest of his play isn't as good as maybe other players are, but that finishing is just so good that, and you could say it's the most important, isn't it?
But I don't think Arsenal have a player that's on the level of Heung-min Son in your squad.
Sorry,
you don't have
the
a
entire squad.
Yeah, on the level of Heung-min Son.
I think are probably a level above.
Who?
Level above?
Come on.
Come on.
Yeah, because his son's got more experience, so they're going to go. We've seen it more often, but has Son ever fought for a title?
Yeah.
Has he ever got you within a title race?
Yeah.
Because for as great as Son's been, I'd actually argue.
Have these players?
We literally fight for a title.
Okay, have you ever had more than 86 points in a season? Son has.
We can probably get in this season.
Well,
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but
you have to win every game.
Wait, we had how much did we have last season?
Less than 86.
It was like 84 last year, so
Right.
not far off. And
Not far off what? Son.
And the funny thing is, Son's career at Spurs is kind of capped as it is. We don't expect you guys to fight for a Champions League in the next 3-4 years, do we? We don't expect you guys to fight for a title. So this is an all-time great finisher we're talking.
You could have
can't put the expectations of a team on one single player.
No, of course you
No,
can't.
but that's
We're talking about one single player
I'm talking about
here.
the player's legacy at this point here. I think he deserves more. Do you not think so? Do you not think a player of his caliber?
Whether he deserves, but that's it right there. Player's caliber.
Yeah.
You don't have a player of his caliber.
I don't think we've got a player that's proven. But I think
That's what I'm saying.
Odegaard's just up there.
Maybe Odegaard later on in his career when he's Heung-min Son's age, we can have that discussion.
I'm just slightly confused. I'm just slightly confused because you're saying we don't have a player of his caliber, but where do you rate him within his position? Do you think he's one of the best in his position?
Yeah, 100%.
So is Saka and Odegaard.
So are Saka.
Saliba.
So it's like we have multiple players that are best in their position. You only have one.
We're not. This is not the conversation. The conversation is Heung-min Son is an elite player.
Because we've got 3 or 4.
We have multiple players,
but
in
they're
that
not
category.
elite players just yet.
So Rice is not elite.
Not yet. He's in the team, because he's better than what we got.
It's elite, but not elite.
So you're saying from from this combined 11, you're saying Son is the best player in this combined 11.
Yeah.
I disagree.
He's the only thing I say he's the most proven. That's what it is.
He's the most experienced.
He's done the most because he's done it for the longest period of time. That's for sure. And that's why it's easy for you to say, Son's the most thing. But I don't expect Saliba to decline next year, nor Saka or Odegaard or Rice as well. So it depends on how you see football. I guess you're trying to, level Son up in that. But going back to what you said earlier about Arsenal needing a striker, I don't think every Arsenal fan thinks that right now. I think some would like a striker, but there's no clear, obvious option. Some people might go, actually, let's keep Kai as a striker for now and actually go inside an out-and-out left winger. Who's a different machine, we've had names like Rafael Leão and people like that. There's no strike.
So you don't trust Trossard that much?
No, Trossard's a player that he's at 12th man. The fact he's in his team right now is because of form. That's why.
Yeah.
He's not a player I expected to be next season. I'll be surprised if he is next season. So
you think he'll sell him in the summer?
No, I think in his team right now.
Ah, right.
I think his role might change. See how Martinelli returns, how we rotate the left hand side. But the striker itself, look, Kai's been very good. I'm not going to sit and deny that. And I will say though, Arsenal fans are still on his back.
Kai Havertz is good, but I still.
There's a sense of, if you went to the game yesterday like I did, you could tell that in the first half, fans were like, oh my God, he's awful. But it's because they're judging him a little bit harshly compared to the first half of the season. When he scores 2 goals and it's great.
He's been good, but let's be honest, if he put the same performance in next season, you're going to be like, he's still good.
If he puts us up front, yes.
I slightly disagree though. I still think we need that one more X factor, that one more player that can bring that extra bit of.
We need goals.
Yeah.
Right? And goals don't have to come as a striker. The most goal scorers right now come actually out wide, Salah and Palmer as an example. So if I'm looking for a more devastating goal scorer, yes, but it doesn't have to be as a 9.
But you also got Haaland, Watkins, they're still number 9s.
Yeah, no, of course you do. But, City at times I think were better in the past. In the Champions League.
When they won the treble.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, treble was amazing because it was the Champions League. But when you look at the Centurion side, they didn't have a set striker, but they had Salah and Sterling. So it depends on how you see football.
All right, look, let's bring an end to the combined 11. We somehow got 4 players in there. Vicario in goal, White right back, Udogie left back, Gabriel and Saliba centre backs, Rice, Odegaard and Maddison in midfield with Saka, Trossard and Son up front. I mean, it's a pretty good team, isn't it?
Quite fair.
Pretty good team.
Yeah.
So there's a few players I'm looking at next season that might not make that.
Yeah, Gabriel.
Yeah.
Real won't make it. I think White
You sure
won't make
about-
it. White won't make it, and Trossard won't make it.
Okay.
There's three
okay.
already.
I'm gonna let them
There's three.
speak because I'm gonna use this again.
So are you guys
Yeah,
going to be
please do.
challenging? Are you guys going to be challenging for the league next
We'll
season?
get into that.
Oh,
Into
okay.
Are
that.
you gonna make the Champions League this season?
We'll get into that.
This season.
Yeah, this season. Champions League, you know, because we're gonna be the next year. Just saying. You know, you man are
Oh,
gonna be
don't
there.
worry
Hey,
about
your
Champions
first
League.
time in the Champions League in 7
We're
years.
for the Champions League together.
Ooh, well, but probably the last time that you were in it.
Arsene
before this.
Wenger times.
2016.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
They won. No, we. Oh yeah, yeah.
We'll
Yeah.
see you the next season if you win.